are our next steps in Virginia. Starting at 12:01 a.m. Monday morning, Virginia will go into a modified stay-at-home order. Every day starting at midnight and lasting through 5 a.m., unless you are commuting to or from work, you are asked to stay at home. It's a reminder that you should stay home whenever you can during the rest of the day. But from midnight to 5 a.m., you need to stay home. If you don't need to go out, go home. This is just plain common sense. That's the first way we're going to respond to Emily. You heard the other thing that she asked for, and that was to wear a mask. So the new rules will be clear. If you're indoors and you're around other people, you need to wear a mask. If you're outdoors and you can't stay 6 feet apart, you need to wear a mask. When you're at work, wear a mask. When you're watching your kid play soccer, wear a mask. That's really simple, and we can all do that. So please, wear a mask. That's the second thing we're going to do for Emily and the nurses like her. Then we need to limit social gatherings to no more than 10 people. It was 25 before Thanksgiving, but cases went up, so we have taken that action. The virus we know spreads when people are around each other in groups. When groups are smaller, it spreads less. That's one more reason why it's important to stay home. If you don't need to be out, we ask you to stay home. So I want to be clear, Virginia has significant limits on capacity in restaurants already, and these will remain. Bars are closed, no alcohol sales after 10 p.m. There must be at least 6 feet between tables. Wear a mask if you're not eating, and everyone who works in a restaurant must wear a mask, whether it be waiters up front or cooks in the kitchen. Everyone must wear a mask. These new measures will start at 12:01 a.m. on Monday morning. They will be temporary, at least for now. They will remain in effect through January the 31st and certainly not forever. But I want everyone to understand this up front. We don't want to extend this, but we may have to. It all depends on what the virus is doing next month, and that depends on what you do right now. If the virus starts to come under control, we may be able to loosen up. But if not, we may have to take further action. In the meantime, we are stepping up enforcement. Here's where I'm so proud of Virginians. The vast majority of people and businesses are doing the right thing. You're looking out for one another and doing the hard work that matters, staying home and wearing a mask when you need to go out. But not everyone. ABC and the health department do most of our enforcement, together with the Department of Labor and Industry and the Agriculture Department. They have completed more than 200 visits just since the current rules took effect less than a month ago. They are seeing compliance rates of about 90%, and that's really good news. And I appreciate everyone working hard to do the right thing. But not everyone is doing the right thing, and that's really too bad for Virginia. Some people and some businesses are literally being selfish. By not doing the right thing, they're making things harder for you and for everyone across Virginia. We received the most complaints about people not wearing masks in businesses, mostly restaurants, brick-and-mortar facilities, the grocery store, and convenience stores. So far, our safety teams have issued 181 enforcement letters for violations. These are actions against people who couldn't be bothered to do the same simple things that everyone else is working hard to do, and that is to wear a mask, stay home, avoid crowds, the things that Emily asked us to do. I'll give you a few examples. In Petersburg, the health district obtained a warrant for a Class 1 misdemeanor against a restaurant owner just a few days before Thanksgiving. They suspended the restaurant's operating permit because people were at the bar, there was no social distancing, employees and patrons were not wearing masks, and the restaurant was over occupancy limits. So they got shut down. At least 4 other restaurants have lost their permits recently, just in the Richmond area alone. You'll recall that we stepped up enforcement in Hampton Roads after cases soared there over the summer, and several restaurants there also lost their licenses. So I can't understand why anyone wants to flaunt these rules, because they make such a big impact, and they are really easy. Stay home. If you need to go out, wear a mask. That's it. But a handful of people still need to get the message that this is serious, so enforcement will continue and enforcement will be stepped up. Now, I want everyone to understand this is not about getting people in trouble. This is about doing the right thing. Stay home whenever you can, wear a mask when you have to go out. If you can telework, you need to do that. We have a telework policy in place for our state workforce. Virginia state employees are not traveling out of the state for work right now, and that will continue. Again, this message is clear. If you can work from home, please do it. If you don't need to go out, please stay at home. I know that parents everywhere are worried. You want to know what this means for your child's school. The simple answer is, this does not change anything about schools or colleges and universities. Across Virginia, local school boards and school superintendents are working very hard to make thoughtful and responsible decisions at the local level. Local leaders know what's right for their community. Virtual learning or virtual learning together with some in-person. We're going to keep working with local leaders to make sure they have the information they need to make these important decisions. Everyone wants to get students back in school as safely and as quickly as possible. We know that that is the best place for our students. Parents and students are also worried about recreational sports. The measures we're announcing today include limits on spectators for recreational sports, 25 people per field for indoor sports, and 2 guests per player for outdoor sports. I'll repeat that, 25 people per field for indoor sports, and 2 guests per player for outdoor sports. I know that watching your child play a sport that they love is an important experience. Pam and I have had that same experience, but I would encourage schools to consider creative ways of allowing spectators streaming games online, for example. Schools should also consider moving sports outside if they can. Just because school basketball is typically played indoors doesn't mean that it has to be. So we're considering ways to get our teachers vaccinated, because that's an important step in getting schools back to in-person learning quickly. We're also working with education leaders on ways to help students catch up, because we know these few months have been very, very hard. Now I'd like to take a moment to talk about our faith communities. This is a holy time for multiple faith traditions. Tonight, as a matter of fact, is the first night of Hanukkah. Christmas is 2 weeks away. The holidays are typically times of joy and community. We gather together, we celebrate our faith, and we celebrate with family. But this year, we need to think about what is truly the most important thing. Is it the worship or the building? For me, God is wherever you are. You don't have to sit in the church pew for God to hear your prayers. So I strongly call on our faith leaders to lead the way and set an example for their members. Worship with a mask on is still worship. Worship outside or worship online is still worship. I can't remind Virginians enough how serious this virus is. And as I call on our faith leaders to set the example, I also hope that our local leaders across the Commonwealth will do the same.